to present the first speaker of today. Is Sylvie Méléard de l'École Polytechnique. She will talk us about stochastic dynamics for adaptation of an evolution of microorganisms. Thank you very much for being here with us today.
Thank you very much.
Sí, uno, dos, tres. Sí. Bueno, sí, uno, dos, tres. Bueno, sí. No, tiene una falla.
It works? Okay, is it better? Nice. So thank you. So I would like to show you today some work we did with a lot of people between biologists and mathematicians, and which was firstly based on a question by Myriam El-Kawi, which is a biologist in a University of Edinburgh, and so these collaborators are both two of one. Sylvain Billard and Régis Ferrière are biologists, and Pierre Collet and Thi-Viet Tran mathematicians. And our motivation since at least 15 years is to try to develop some mathematical tools to model what is called Darwinian theory of evolution, and in a certain sense, all the adaptation we observe in biology. And in this talk, I would like to show you how we do that for microorganisms. So Myriam El-Kawi is working on Escherichia coli, and she has a lot of questions on this coli, and we discussed a lot continuously with biologists to create our mathematical models. But what you will see in this talk is that depending on the scales we are interested in, from what Pierre-Louis called agent-based model, from an individual-based model, we can, so some mathematical models emerge, either deterministic or probabilistic, and in any case, a lot of mathematical questions are open. And so I explain you the context of this study. So we are interested. I will speak about individuals, but think about bacteria. Escherichia coli is an example. And but in all this framework by Darwin, the main idea is that the population has the capacity to create diversity, individual diversity, and to select its diversity. And so the main thing is to see bacteria as characterized by some parameters, which you will see in what follows that the parameter will be summarized by quantitative values. But so you have parameter, either phenotypic or genotypic parameters, which has an influence on the ability of the bacterium to survive or to reproduce. And this, the evolution is mainly based on at least 3 mechanisms, but here for microorganisms there is a 4th mechanism, so very general mechanisms which explain this adaptation of bacteria. So the first mechanism is heredity. That means that by what is called vertical transmission, an ancestor will transmit its characteristics, these parameters, this characteristic to its offsprings, except when mutations occur. And when mutation occurs, for example, in the DNA replication, you have a lot of mistakes, and some of these mistakes have a main influence on the parameter we are interested in. And so when we have mutations, that generates the variability in the population we are interested in. And there is also selection. That means that individuals with, which carry a trait which increase their survival probability or their ability to reproduce will spread through the population. And there is also, so we introduce in our model some ecology in the sense that there is interaction between individuals, and at least there is a competition between individuals, for example, for resources, if you assume that the resources are limited, and that we will see that will give some non-linearity in the models. And so usually for big organisms, say for mammals or human peoples, you have a fourth mechanism which is related to sexual population, so that means a recombination of genes. Here it's different because you have microorganisms, but there is also some transfer, gene transfer, what is called horizontal gene transfer. That means during the life of bacteria, they are able to transfer gene from one to another one. And so we will see that these mechanisms play a main role in the evolution of these cells. Okay. And so there are several mechanisms from this horizontal gene transfer, which are called transformation, transduction, and conjugation. So I will not describe these biological things, but we will focus on conjugation and more precisely on plasmid conjugation, which was and I will explain why was of interest for us. So what are plasmids? So in a cell, you have the chromosome DNA here, and so which is transmitted by a vertical transmission in the reproduction, but you have also some small circular DNA filaments like that called plasmid, which are able to replicate from a cell to another one, so by direct cell-to-cell contact. And you see here, if you have a cell with this plasmid, and so this plasmid is completely independent from the chromosome DNA, and so the donor, the bacterium which carries the plasmid, so she develops some small arm called lipus, and that she put on the recipient cell. And so one of the two DNA filaments of the plasmid cut and goes to the other cell and immediately replicate, and the plasmid is created in the recipient. And so like that, you have information transfer between bacteria. And for example, in E. coli, the number of identical plasmid in a cell is from 1 to 1,000, so you have many different scales here. And so I found on the web a picture by electron microscope, and here you have the big, I don't know if you see that, the chromosome, you see it here, but here you can see a very small DNA structure, so circular structure, and that's plasmid. And so the plasmids are really smaller in the sense that the chromosome for E. coli is, you see, 5,000 kilo base pair. And from plasmid is from 1 to 200. So that's essentially the scale. So why are we interested in plasmid? Because the biologists discover that essentially the genome of plasmids codes for the resistances to antibiotics. And so there are a lot of studies now to understand this plasmid transfer, because it is really considered as a primary reason for antibiotics resistances. And also because biologists are able to create artificial plasmids on which they put some very small DNA structures called CRISPR-Cas9. And these structures are able to cut some DNA filaments. And so they put this artificial plasmid on cell, and by transfer, they introduce them in other cells, for example, where plasmids are carrying antibiotic resistances, and these artificial plasmids are able to cut these genes and like that to destroy the resistances. So of course it's research, but it's research really devoted to the limitation of resistances to antibiotics. Okay. And we also know that these plasmids play a main role in the degradation of novel compounds, and so it has also an interest in biotechnology. So when the cell carry a plasmid, that has a cost in the sense that if the cell is heavier in a certain sense, so it consumes more energy, and then but of course, it has an interest in the transmission of the plasmid. And so there is it is a trade-off between the reproduction or the reproduction ability or the survival possibility ability of the cell and its capacity to transfer. And so we are interested in understanding this trade-off and how the demographic parameter and the environment interplay in the evolution mechanisms, including this transfer. So our aim, as you will see, is to propose a general stochastic eco-evolutionary model of population dynamics with horizontal and vertical transmission, and to study the maintenance of polymorphism of the invasion or elimination of traits during this evolution dynamics. And we will see that this transfer can really drastically affect the evolutionary outcomes. And so concerning the literature, there were essentially deterministic models, but essentially based on epidemiological ODEs, systems of ODEs, and without evolution, that means that without considering mutation in the trait structure. And all these models are based on the seminal work by Anderson and May in 1979. And since several years, there are a few papers with using PDEs models and we will see how these ODE systems or PDEs model appear in the talk, and so I will come back on these names later. And from the stochastic point of view, the only models were based on population genetic models. That means that they introduce mutation, but they are always considering constant size population, and they don't add the interaction between individuals. So there is no ecology in this model. And so we will see that in our model, we are able to introduce all these considerations. So I describe the individual-based model. So I assume that the quantitative trait which characterize the cell is a certain vector X of a compact subset of RD. And we have bacteria. So the population are very large, between 10 to the 9 or 10 to the 20, so that's very large populations. And so we will scale the population size by some parameter k, which will tend to infinity. And the population is large, but the individuals are small, and they will be weighted by 1 over k. And at each time t, we have nkt individuals, and it's a population, so we have divisions, cell divisions, that means birth, new individual appears, and we have death of individuals. So that means that nkt is fluctuating depending on the arrivals or deaths of different new individuals. And so if we consider the trait vector of individuals, you see if you fix time t, if you have nkt individuals, we have a trait vector, the trait vector describing the traits of the individuals alive at time t, that will be a vector taking value in Rd to the nkt power. Okay, but this nkt is fluctuating, so the trait vector has a size which fluctuates in time. So the good way to model the population is to describe the population by a random discrete measure, so a point measure. So it's you see that's a way which is not so far from the talk of Pierre-Louis Lyons yesterday. He's sleeping, but so you consider this discrete measure weighted by 1 over k, where you sum on any individual I alive at time t, so I between 1 and 8 kt, the population size, and of the direct measure on the trait of the individual I that I have denoted by xi. And so we are interested in the dynamics when t tends to infinity, or when t moves, of this measure-valued process. And so it will be Markovian, and I will describe now the transition of this process. So we assume that each cell, if a cell has a characteristic x, it will divide, or it will give birth to a single individual, so that's a cell division, at trait b of x. And so that means that we have to wait a certain random time, which has an exponential law with a parameter b of x before the cell divides. Okay? And when the cell divides, you have two possibilities with probability 1 minus pk. The offspring, the new cell inherits of the parameter x, or or a mutation can occur with probability pk, and then the new cell has a trait z, which is chosen according to a certain law. Imagine, for example, a Gaussian law centered on x with a certain variance. Okay. And so remember this pk, which denotes the mutation probability, and it depends on k in the sense that we will observe what happens in different scales for pk. And so we have also this horizontal gene transfer, and so we assume that in a population, so in the population described by the discrete measure nu, an individual with trait x chooses a partner with trait y at some rate which depend on x, y, and on the total population measure nu. And of course, after the conjugation, the new traits will be XX. So I will speak about unilateral transplasmid transfer, which we always assume that if there is a transfer, x is larger than x, but we will come back to this later. And concerning the death of individuals, we assume that an individual with trait X can die with an intrinsic death rate, which is d of x, and you see that it depends on the parameter x. And we want also to take into account the possible competition between individuals. And that described by this quantity, we assume that if you have, from the point of view of this individual with trait X, so there is a pressure, a competition pressure between this individual and the other individuals alive at the same time, which carry the trait Xi. And this competition pressure, it describes through this parameter, which is a function between which quantifies the difference between the two traits. It's a function of the two traits X and Xi, and it's divided by K since the individuals are weighted by 1/K. And so that gives, so this quantity, I denote it with a sort of a convolution notation, but that will introduce a mean field interaction in the system, okay? Mean field in the same sense that Pierre-Louis Linon's talk yesterday. And so that's the system. So that I describe all the transition I have for this measure-valued Markov process, so which is a jump process in the sense that either you add cells or you kill cells, okay? And you have this transfer between the lives of this cell. And we can prove that under some good initial moment estimates, this process is well defined and uniquely defined. So the problem is well posed. Okay. So that's more technical, but we have a way to describe the dynamics of the process. And so we prove, so it's a measure. The new K is a measure. So to describe it, we integrate some good measurable function f. And we can prove that, so related with the Markov structure of the process, that this measure can be written as the sum of that, the initial measure, the measure at time 0, plus some term which is in a certain sense deterministic. So you see that there is here appears a term which is called the generator of the process and which is described here. So it's a deterministic function of the measure nu k, which depends on the function f. So, and here you have something which is random, which is called which is the martingale, what is called martingale part. So it's something which has an expectation 0, which describes the random fluctuations of the process. And we can prove in this case that the variance of this martingale part has this form. That means it's 1/k times something which can be in certain scale, at least in certain scale, bounded. Okay? So that's the structure of the process. So you see that you have this part, so we will remember this later. And so you see that if we consider a large population asymptotics, namely k tends to infinity, in this scale, we can hope that in the limit this term will disappear because of this 1/k. And so in the limit, we will obtain something which seems deterministic. And so that's what we will do. But before doing that, we have to see what appears here. We have something which depends on k. We have pk, and we have khk, which appear here and also here. So now I assume I made some assumption on this parameter. And so I assume that pk tends to some p when k tends to infinity, and that khk of xy mu tends to a certain functional transfer rate, and which has this form. And why is that? Because discussing with biologists, they told us that this transfer rate seems to be density dependent when the population is small, and what is called frequency dependent when the population is large. And that's easy to understand because remember, to get this transfer is really a cell-to-cell contact. So that means if you have a few number of individuals in the population, the cell can have contact with all the other individuals in the population. So that means that the total rate will depend on the total size of the population. But if you have a very large population, to transfer with other population, you have a sort of large number, law, and you will pick individuals at random. You will pick your partner at random in the population. That's what is called frequency dependent. The parameter depend and is renormalized by the total size of the population. And that's why we imagine this transfer rate. Here, tau is a number which only depends on the two traits x and y. And we have here this quantity beta plus mu 1, and this is just a way to denote the total size of the population nu. And then if beta equal 1 and mu equal to 0, that's what is called this term is constant, and this what is called density dependent transfer. If beta 0, mu 1, you have this frequency dependent transfer when you pick at random the partner. And we also consider, and you will see that mathematically it gives you other results, that we can have a sort of transfer rate which is a combination between these two cases by taking beta and mu different from 0. And so we call that Bedington-De Angelis transfer rate because it's a functional response which is well known in ecology, and so that biologists know well. Okay. And we will see in the later slides that we introduce this parameter, which is the difference between the transfer from x to y and the transfer to y from y to x, and that I call flux. And so which denotes the difference between the two ways we have in the transfer. Okay. And remember, we make now k tends to infinity, and our intuition that this term, we will see, we can prove that this term disappears, and in the limit, we only keep this in the limit, and we get this theorem that if assumes that at time 0, the initial measure converges to a certain measure psi 0, then in the limit, you observe that the population process converges to something which is now deterministic. It's a sort of very general law of large number, even if we have competition between individuals, but this competition is small, and then we can keep this deterministic limit. And here, this so we exactly get what we were expecting. That means we prove that so the limit xi t xi is a function from a certain time interval 0t to a set of finite measures, and xi t is weak solution of this this expression. Okay. And so we recognize, so here we have the clonal birth, here the death with intersect or with competition. We have this mutation term and the transfer term, okay? And so to prove that, we use some very usual arguments of compactness, identification, and uniqueness. And we use some moment estimate, some pathwise moment estimates. So now I show you how we can derive from this expression either PDEs or ODE systems. And so imagine first that xi0, this initial limiting measure, has a density with respect to the Lebesgue measure. And in this case, we can prove that it's always true for any t positive. And then xi t has a density that I denote by n of tx for any x in the support of the trace support. And then we have an integral differential equation for this density nt, okay, which is written here. And so it's, of course, this equation has this new term which appear due to the transfer, and we remark that here it's the flux transfer which appear here. And so the behavior, the long-time behavior of this equation is an open question. And so with alpha equals 0, so there was in the French PD school around De Villers, Jabin, Michler, Raoul, we wrote some paper concerning the long-time behavior, but with this term, it's open. So there were just two papers, closed paper by Le Foll, Magal Webb, and Magal Raoul, but for different transfer form because they are working on protein transfer models, but they are only able to study stationary states. So the convergence when t tends to infinity is a problem. So, and so that's a way, so that there are people working on this equation, but another, now I would like to also to show you the relation with ODE systems. So here I assume that that the parameter pk tends to p, but now we will focus on an assumption, a biological assumption, which is that since these parameter x are essentially phenotypic parameters, so happily for us, the mutation rate is very small, and we will assume that the mutations are very rare. And that means that this pk tends to 0 when k tends to infinity, okay? And of course, if we assume that, in the limit, all the terms depending on p disappear, and you don't see the mutation terms anymore. So that means that at this time scale, where we have fixed the time interval 0t, we will not see the mutation anymore. But we will see that in longer time scale, we will see them, okay? So for the moment, we make pk tends to 0, and we assume that psi 0 at the beginning has only two traits in its support, x and y. And that means if we don't have mutations anymore, we will always stay with two traits in the support, okay? And in this case, the equation, these general equations, it just reduced to this system of ODEs, where here nx and ny denote the population size with trait x and with trait y. So here we are in the case where psi 0 has the support x, y, and that pk tends to 0. And so that's the limiting system. And here again, we see that in this deterministic approximation, that the flux which plays the main role, the difference between the two transfer rates. And I also remark here that, so if you forget the transfer term, it's just a Lotka-Volterra competitive system, okay? But here we have this transfer which does not change the total mass of the system, of course, it's just an exchange of gene information. But as you will see, it plays a main role in the long-time behavior of the system. So for convenience, I just introduce this notation, n bar x equal r of x, over c of xs. And so that denotes, so imagine now that x equal y. If you have only a population with all what is called a monomorphic population where all individuals have the trait y, x, of course, you don't see transfer anymore. You don't see this term, and you have just this equation, which is well-known and usually called a logistic equation. And this equation has a unique stable equilibrium, which is here. And it will play a role in what follows. Okay. So now I give you the stability analysis of this system, and you will see that the transfer rate plays a role. So if alpha equals 0, that means in the classical competitive Lotka-Volterra case, we know that very standard, that there is a function called invasion fitness function, which governs the stability, whose sign governs the stability. And this function is given by this quantity, which is here. And depending on the sign of the function, we know if there will be an equilibrium on the boundary. Of course, we work on the positive quadrant here, since we consider only population sizes. And so in the competitive case, we have one of these four pictures. That means either you have an equilibrium on the boundary x, that means that in the limit you have only individual with trait x, or you have a unique equilibrium which describe a population that in the limit only a population with trait y. That means that y has invaded and fixed in the population. Or here you have a unique equilibrium inside the quadrant, which describe a coexistence between population with trait X or Y. And you have an unstable, always an unstable equilibrium here, which 0 is always unstable. And you see that if we add transfer, 4 new phase diagrams appear, which are here. And so in fact, when you are density dependent, you have only these 4 diagrams. If you are frequency dependent, you have 2 new diagrams which appear. And if we choose this Bedington-De Angelis transfer rate, you have these 4 new diagrams which can appear. Okay? And here, what was very interesting from the biological point of view, with respect to the usual competitive Lotka-Volterra case, is that you can now see a picture with 2 equilibrium, one in the boundary and at the boundary and one inside the quadrant, or even in the Bedington-De Angelis case, 2 coexistence equilibria which are in the quadrant, or more. Here we have 3 equilibria. So that's already a difference, and that, of course, adds many difficulty in this case. So that's the deterministic point of view. And now from the... yes, we will see that, and we can prove that exactly as in the classical Lotka-Volterra case, the nature of the equilibria at the boundaries, and at least if we are close to the boundary where X, we are close to the equilibrium, the monomorphic equilibrium of a population with trait X, we have here there is another function, which is the invasion fitness function in this case, whose sign governs what happens close to this boundary equilibrium at the boundary with trait X. Okay, and so this plays a role to see if from this situation where we assume that at the beginning we have essentially n bar individual with trait X, n bar X individual with trait X, that this function will say if we go to another equilibrium, which could be either this one, or of course this one, or this one. And so that's governed by the sign of this function. So I show you here on this also on this picture that this transfer will really change the usual intuition we have so assume that at the beginning, so that here we simulate the stochastic system, but at the beginning you have only individual with a certain trait X. So here, and you see that the population size is very close to its equilibrium. And here you have B of X, which is 1, and D equals 0. And you have a certain intra-specific competition kernel, CXX, which is 2. And now a mutant appears, so that's the red one. And at the beginning, of course, you have a single individual with this new trait. And this new trait called here Y is is a priori less advantageous than X, in the sense that its reproduction rate is 0.8, so you see it's smaller than 1. And you see that the competition between individual with trait Y is 4. That's large competition. So here you have all the matrix, the competition matrix. But nevertheless, you have only a unilateral transfer from X to Y. That means that you are only able to make an exchange from and to change a particle with trait X to a cell with trait Y. Okay, so you have only a unilateral transfer, and you see here that even if Y is really deleterious in this situation, because it is really less adapted than X in this situation, because of the transfer, it is able to invade. You see that the population size of Y individual is increasing, And more than that, in the competition and transfer dynamics, you see that the population of individual with trait X is decreasing and go to 0. And now you have this individual with trait Y, which have invaded the population, and we say that they are fixed in the population in the sense that at the end of this competitive picture, you have in the population only individual with trait Y. Of course, they are less adapted than the X population, so the population size is smaller than this one. But nevertheless, due to the transfer, so that means that the transfer allows very bad adapted individuals to fix in the population. Okay, and so we are able to quantify the time such picture, such mechanisms takes to, and so that's related to this function, and so we can prove that the invasion probability of this individual with trait Y in a population which was at the beginning close to its equilibrium n bar x. So this invasion probability is given by this formula, and here you have the positive part of this function, this invasion fitness function, divided by the total the rate of arrival of individual with trait Y. So you can get individual with trait Y firstly by reproduction or by transfer. Okay, you transfer an individual with trait X to an individual with trait Y, and so we can prove more. So we have this invasion probability, and moreover, we are able to prove by using birth and death processes arguments that the time it takes to go for the population which with trait Y, which appear on a single individual, to arrive to a population size of order k, that takes a time of order logarithm of k. And then here, if the two population size are of order k, you have you can use the deterministic system we have introduced earlier, and and we can study the long time behavior of this deterministic system. And here, for example, in this picture, in the deterministic system, in the limit you have you can prove that so certainly in the limit you have the equilibrium 0 n bar y. But then, so the population, the Y population size will go very close to n by y. Here you have the stochastic fluctuation around the equilibrium. And in the same way, we can prove that here, now the X population size is very small, so it becomes stochastic. But we can prove that the time it takes to go to 0 is of order logarithm of k. So we know that all this picture takes a time of order logarithm of k. So that means that in particular, so that's you know we are that's a way we are to model the evolution. Since here we had a population with most all population were at this level with trait X, and now after a certain time, you have a population which is all at this level. The population size is at this level, and all individuals have the trait Y. And so we have two remarks here. So if we assume that a new mutation appears after this competition picture, that means the second mutation appears here. So now you have time to make this competition before a new mutation appears. That means that will give us a way to separate the mutation occurrence from the competition between the different traits. And like that, we can describe the successive invasions of advantageous mutations. Okay? And that's why we do. So what is the mutation scale? We know that the mutation probability is pk, and we have the population size is of order k. That means that the total rate of mutation is kpk, and then the mutation time scale, which is, for example, the evolution time scale, is of order 1 over kpk. So what we said is that if 1 over kpk is really greater than logarithm of k, we will observe in the limit this separation of time scales between the competition phases and the mutation occurrences. Okay, and then in the limit you will only see. So if I come back to my picture, here we have logarithm of k. Imagine that we change the scale of the complete picture in a scale which is really longer and longer. And then all this picture will just become a point, okay? And a point where you have a jump from this state to this state, okay? So if I consider my population process at the scale t over kpk, assuming that 1 over kpk is really larger than logarithm of k, in the limit, I will get a jump process which will jump from n bar x back to individual with trait x to n bar y individual with trait y. Okay, and we are able to describe the jump measure. Of course, you jump if you have a positive probability to invade, for y to invade the resident population with trait x. We have computed this probability, invasion probability, times the number of individuals with trait x and times the reproduction rate b of x. And so that gives you a way to describe the evolution of individuals. So you see that you have, here you see that you have the evolution is driving by this in this direction here. And so we can make computations concerning this invasion fitness. So we take a very simple equation, example, but which is usual in this framework. So which is called a size model, where assumes that x is in 0, 4, b of x is 4 minus x, d 1, and c the pressure, the competition pressure is constant. And you can easily compute here n bar x, which is given by this quantity. So remark that here it's what is called a size model. That means if x is large, the cell use all its, if the cell is large, it uses all its the energy to survive, and so the reproduction rate is small. Okay, that's the idea of such a reproduction rate. And you see, of course, that if b of x is better if x is small, and the optimal trait for the growth rate is to take x equals 0. And so it's that is what we remark. If we have no transfer, I said that the fitness function which gives the direction of evolution, and it will be positive if and only if y is less than x. And that means that this process we observe here, in fact, in our case, will decrease. It's not this picture, but it will more decrease to 0. Okay? But if you add some transfer in the system, here I took this function, which is really no symmetry at all, you can observe in this case that y will invade the population if and only if y is greater than x. So here the evolution yield decreasing traits, and you go, and we will see that on a simulation, you go to 0, which is the optimal trait. If you only think about the growth rate of the population. But with transfer, you go to larger and larger traits. But you see that if you go to, for example, x equals 4, the reproduction rate is 0. That means that at a certain point, the population will disappear. And that is what we hope when we put antibiotics. We hope to kill the population. Remember that the antibiotic resistances are carried by the plasmids, okay, by this, so they play a role in this transfer. But that's not what we see. And so we imagine that the scale kpk we took here is not the good one to model and simulate resistances. And then we did a simulation where, so it's essentially the same example, but here we take a simpler transfer rate, which is just a constant tau if x is greater than y. So it's completely unilateral. And we assume that the mutation here, the mutation law is a Gaussian, as I said earlier, centered on x. And we will see how, but here the probability, the mutation probability is 0.03 and k is 1000. So you see that kpk is not 0. It's a certain number, but nevertheless. So we are not in the scale we have described earlier. And so at the beginning, we have 1,000 individuals with trait 1, and we are able to compute with our expression n bar 1 with will, which is b of 1 minus d of 1 over c. C is here. And so that's we have to multiply by 1,000 to know the number, the individual number. Okay, so at the beginning, we have 4,000 individuals with trait 1. And we know that with our transfer, the population should and will adapt to go to the optimal trait 0, for which we have an equilibrium at 6,000 individuals. Okay, so now we will see what is the impact of this transfer based on the parameter tau. So the unique parameter which will change in the next simulation is tau. Okay. And so we will see this trade-off between a transfer and a reproduction here. So at tau equals 0, so we see exactly what we were expected. That means that from at the beginning, all individuals are here. So here you have the time, and here you have the trait space 0, 4. So here it's the distribution of traits. And at the beginning, all the individuals have the trait 1. And you see that with this mutation selection process, here we have no transfer. After a certain time, almost all individuals will have a trait which is close to 0. Okay? And that's the mean trait. And so you see that from 1, it goes to 0. And here you have the distribution of traits at this time, which has a large peak at 0 and which is very close to 0. And that's the population size. So as I said, very fast, you go to the equilibrium. We have computed the equilibrium 4,000. And then when the population go to this population with support 0, the population size goes to 6,000. So that's completely coherent with what we have computed earlier. And now we make tau increase. And so you see that tau 0.2, it's almost the same picture, except it takes a longer time to arrive to this optimal trait 0. But essentially, the population adapt to its better the trait, which is more advantageous for its increasing. Tau 0.6, that was appear. What appears, and now that's a very this picture are very exciting for us, since we observe very different behavior. So here we observe that here the transfer is large, and we observe that the transfer is winning. That means that instead for the population, instead to go to its better and optimal trait 0, you will see that it is increasing. Remember, we computed this. We show that y will invade if y was larger than x. So that's exactly what we observe. But here you see that the population, the traits are increased. But remember that when the trait is increasing, the reproduction rate is decreasing. And at some point, this population stopped. But you see that here, and with our computation, it should be killed. But here, certainly, and it remains, and you can see some points. Here, the population the transfer was not strong enough to kill all the individuals. And some of them, a few number of individuals, were able to adapt to more adapted traits here. And if here the population is very small, it will not transfer anymore. And this population, which was better adapted, will increase. And so that can explain, at least intuitively, what happens here, and which reproduce, in a certain sense, the appearance of new resistant strains. Okay, that's a way to understand this appearance of resistant strains. And here you have this periodic, the sort of pseudo-periodic dynamics of the mean trait. And here you have the population size. So you see those, you are immediately at the equilibrium, 4,000, but then when the trait is increasing, the population size is decreasing until we arrive at this time. And here the population size increase a lot because these traits are well adapted. But after that, when the trait is increasing, the population size is decreasing and so on. Okay? And so that's not a mathematical explanation, just simulation and biological intuition. And if we have tau equals 0.7, you remark that you have such sort of picture, so which becomes periodic after a certain time. But in other simulation, we are really, here we have killed the population after only one strain, or here we have two strains. But so that's what is called evolutionary suicide, since the population is transferring until it's completely disappearance. Okay? And if tau equal 1, in any cases, we have this evolutive suicide. That means that the transfer is so strong that the population will evolve until it is completely, it disappears because the reproduction rate is almost zero. Okay? And by stochastic fluctuation, it's zero. So now, of course, we are trying to understand these pictures, which are really new from the mathematical point of view. And so we have two ways to approach this equation. So the first way to approach this behavior is deterministic, and it's so that's for the moment it's heuristics, and it's a work based on it's a work in progress with Vincent Calvez and Sepideh Miraimi. And so the idea is to come back to the PDE equation, but with other scales that with a different scale. And so here, so remember the mutation appears through a sort of jump kernel. So here, for simplicity, we replace it by a Gaussian mutation. So here we have a Laplacian, or it's in one dimension, but we have a second derivative here. And so we have Gaussian mutation at rate epsilon square, and we consider a long time t over epsilon. So that epsilon, that's the scale we take here. And here we have the growth rate b minus x. So essentially the equation, the PD we obtained earlier, with a certain value of b and d here, but we have replaced the mutation kernel, the integral term, by this Gaussian term. And so to study this equation, so we have this quantity, and then the equation with the scaling is now this equation, and we introduce as usual, it was it's a usual way to study such equation, perhaps firstly introduced by Sougadidis and Barnes, and so many papers per time introduce this transformation, which is well known and called Kohlhoff transformation. And so we write n epsilon as exponential of u epsilon over epsilon. And then that gives you a new equation for this u epsilon, which is here. And so heuristically, if you assume that n epsilon converges to n at least weakly, such that this term converges vers such form integral of alpha with respect to the limiting value n over integral of n, the total mass here of the limit, then in the limit we obtain such equation, which is a sort of Hamilton-Jacobi equation. Okay, and so now we try to capture this periodicity when tau is large, okay? And so here we assume, remember what is here, I alpha and I is the mass of n, and I alpha is the integral of alpha with respect to n. Assume that there is a dominant trait. We assume that there is a unique dominant trait for u, and then in the limit, n will only charge this dominant trait. And then in this case, if we, at each time t, I assume that u of tx has a dominant trait x of t, then the equation has this form. And so we choose, so I repeat that for the moment is just a heuristic, it's not rigorously written, but if you consider stationary equation of this form, yes, then you can prove that the equation is reduced to two macroscopic equations relating the argmax of the function u, which is here, and the parameter lambda, which is here. And these equations are here. Of course, we assume some certain regularity on alpha. And moreover, we have a positivity constraints, and we give us some constraints relating the usual trait and this dominant trait x bar. And so because of this positivity condition, it can happen that the solution which is given here by this system violates this condition, and then things becomes to oscillate. And for example, if we take alpha of these forms, it's a sort of regularization of the indicator function, and with a hyperbolic tangent. And then we can observe that if tau is small, we have this adaptation to the trait 0, and if tau is large, we have such sort of periodic behavior. So there is a way to attack our problem, at least. And from the probabilistic point of view, so it's a work in progress with Champagnat and Tran. So our approach is completely different here, but so we assume, so at the beginning, the population is of order k, and here we assume that the mutation probability is k to minus alpha for some small alpha positive. And so here we have a grid, we decompose the trait space in a grid, and we try to keep into account very small population, but small in the sense that they are of order k to something. And we prove that the good time scale is still logarithm of k here, so it's a longer time scale, but it's not the one we have chosen earlier. And the population at each of describing the population size of individual with any term in the support here is of order k to something, and this something is a solution of certain equation depending here again of a certain dominant trait. And since this dominant trait is changing, that gives you some jumps in this coefficient term, and that can, but this work is not at all finished, but that can explain this periodicity in the behavior of the process. Okay. Okay, so I suppose I finished, and I thank you for your attention.
So in your analysis, you start with a monomorphic configuration, and then you get to this kind of trace substitution sequence model. So what happened is you start with a polymorphic population. And another question is, okay, you start with a monomorphic one, and then you wait until the first mutation arrives. And then this new mutation somehow invade the population, and then you wait until this reach equilibrium, and then you continue, you do the same process. But what happened is between this time when the new mutation is starting to reach the equilibrium, a new mutation appears.
Okay, so so the two questions are related. So concerning the what we call this trait substitution sequence, which is this limiting process describing the evolution, there is a so with Nicolas Champagnat we developed a more generalized approach for this question, including many mutations together, and we call this process a polymorphic evolutionary sequence. But here I try to give you the main ideas of the different time scale we can consider here. But of course, for any, that's a mathematical approach. And if you want to go more inside the biology, the questions are very large. But for each slide give a lot of problems. And for example, the dynamical systems already with two traits it's already very difficult to study. We were very. It's amazing these phase diagrams and so if you add different traits or alleles, so that give you, mathematically speaking, new difficulties, I mean. But so the way we have to separate this case, so this assumption to consider that you wait for the competition to observe something new, is to try to understand what happened. So I have a lot of students, and there are also many students around Anton Bovier in Bonn who try to consider this competition between more than two individuals and to see what happens. And things are, it's amazing how you can observe different evolutionary outcomes, of course. So that's...
Thank you.
More questions? If not, well, let's thank the speaker for this splendid talk. We resume at 11.